everyone, welcome. This is Natasha with Antonia Remington. We're back for stage 4, I think, part 4 of this little aged Parisian dress or technique that we're doing based on the dresser that I had posted a while back. I wanted to point out a few things. Since yesterday, I did follow everyone's advice and I went pink with the top. I did a layer of Scandinavian pink, kind of thick. I then went over it with, you can still see some of the drips coming off of it, still a little wet. I went over it with Antoinette and just really kind of mushed it in there once it was dry, once the Scandinavian pink was dry, and kind of mushed it in there, and then put some primer red around the corners and give it a spritz. A spray with a spray bottle. So I did that. I wanted to add some age. I will do dark blacks over the whole thing just to age it up a little bit more. The other thing I did was, just for time purposes, to make this go a little bit quicker, was I added a tiny bit of white because we weren't getting a lot of white coming through. You'll see on the other side what I wanted to accomplish, but unfortunately every piece just comes out the way it's going to come out. So I added a little bit of white to get the same look that we had on the original dresser piece that I had done. And then just a little spritz. And I put a very, very light coat, very, very light, like almost like stenciling, the amount of paint you use when you're stenciling, of Giverny, and went over it. I'm going to do that one more time just to pick up. Added a little bit more primer red around the corners just to kind of blend that in a little bit. And then we're going to go to the side and I'm going to show you the side. If you have any questions, what kind of brushes I use, anything like that, please feel free to ask.
Yesterday, so I'm going to move the camera up and get in close so you can really see some detail.
You can see the amount of paint I'm putting on there. It's hardly anything. And I'm just going to come through and dole out the other colors underneath a little bit. I don't want it to get streaky, which is why I'm kind of overworking it a little bit. You can see down here, that streak right there. If I don't want that, I'll just keep on working it. And so I'm just hiding and blending the colors underneath just a little bit. And you saw how much paint I had on my brush, the same amount. I'll go back.
Just to let you know who's online with us today so far, we got 14 and it keeps going up. Paula Rice, Lori Michelle, Brandy Banning. Hi, Brandy. Amanda Tolucci's watching. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so once again, just going through. That's a little bit more than I wanted, but that's okay. So I'm just going to really, you can see I'm just pushing my brush in different directions into it. And if I feel like it's getting too thick, I'll just go ahead. I don't really want this to drip. I just really want it to be slick. Maybe a little drip. To move paint.
Sorry, everybody.
Move the paint around a little bit.
There we go.
And I'll come just to bring it in. Get some continuity there. I'll bring it in the sides. A little spritz, and you can see the other colors kind of coming through, and that's what we want. Exactly.
Flipped Out Furniture Decor and More asked, did you wax before you started? I must have missed the first 1 to 2 minutes.
I did not. I'm going to do that on the side. I will show you. Can we flip this on the side?
Sure.
I did do the side yesterday. And I did this a little bit more. I added a little bit more Giverny than I wanted to, but I waxed, and like all of this, like you can see that's still wet, all that kind of stuff. I like that. I think it's perfect. Gives it age. That's exactly what I wanted. But I waxed. I did dark wax first, and that's what I'm going to show you on the other side. And then I went and did clear wax, and then I went in with the Giverny and just kind of mushed it into the wax a little bit. I really like this was an old vanity that was torn apart. We didn't do it, but that's how we got it. And it had this, normally, you know, somebody would want to fix this, put in some wood filler and fix it. I didn't want to because I knew once I painted it and I added the wax that it was going to give this old detail to it, and that I really enjoy.
And that's where the veneer peeled off at the bottom. Sometimes when you pull stuff apart, that happens. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to turn it around, and then I'm just going to show you how I did that on the other side. So this is really what I wanted to show you, because on the original piece, this was coming through a lot in the front, which is why I added a little bit more white. And so this is what it looked like, the other side for the most part looked like, before I went ahead and did the dark wax and then the Giverny. You don't have to do as much Giverny as I did. This is where you get to kind of play with it and keep going back and decide really what it is that you want the end result to look like. But before we do dark wax or black wax, but I don't want to do that because I feel like I get a more authentic aged look when I do the dark wax first, and then can you turn it towards me a little bit, and then I clear wax it, and then I go back with paint. So I know that waxing can be a little scary to some people, especially with these dark waxes, but I'm taking my brush and I'm getting most of the wax off of it. I just really want a little bit, and if I feel like I have too much, I'll just take a paper towel and just dab some of it off. But I'm going to come in on the edges, right through here, right through here. On up. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to look perfect if it's naturally aged like that anyway. I'll come in through here. Adding little bits at a time. You can see that's already pretty cool. Now, if you're not comfortable doing this, go ahead and clear wax first. You can see how it's aging that. And then on the sides, sometimes I don't want to do the whole thing. I'll just do like half of it in the dark wax. And if I feel like I have too much right there, you can see it's not going to come off. That's what I have to work with. So clear wax if you're not that comfortable yet. But you'll see at the end why this really works for me. I find if I go up and down, I get more authentic looking age than if I go from side to side. I don't know if you guys can see down here. I'll get in the crevices a little bit. That's pretty awesome.
Okay, got a couple questions.
Yep.
Paula Rice asked, what did you do to the top? Can you review, was it a wash of color or how you did that?
So on the top, what I did is I did one pretty thick coat of Scandinavian pink, and then I let that dry, and I did a little bit of, you can see these spots right here and right here on their side, of primer red, and then I just sprayed it with some water and let it happen. You could probably achieve a similar look, but I wanted a lot of texture in there with, if you just did Scandinavian pink and maybe white wax. It would be similar, less steps at least. So you could see that this is why people get a little scared of this, because this isn't going anywhere. It's in there, but that's what I wanted it to do.
Hannah Sam asked, what brand of wax and color do you use?
So I use Annie Sloan. I used to be an Annie Sloan stockist. I love her product. It did switch consistency a little bit when it used to be made in the United States. Now it's international formula, is made in the UK. And it is a bit thicker. It is a little bit different of a consistency. I will say that I had a really hard time adjusting to it, but it's water based, so you just add a little bit of water. Just take it out and add a little bit of water, and you can really create the texture and the consistency that you want, which is great. I also use a little bit of Jolie paint. I've tried many other things, but that's really my go-to. I like Miss Mustard Seed's white wax the very best. And for the waxes, the dark wax and the black wax, I use Annie Sloan. I really like that, and the clear wax. Jolie's clear wax is good too. If anybody else has any other, I mean, you can, if you make your own paint, you can really, as long as it's water-based, you can use any paint that you like. I've tried most of them, but this is just what works for me. This is what I prefer. If anybody has any other paints that they like to use, just go ahead and shout out to us and let us know if there's something you think works good. Another little white wax, well, it's a clear wax, I guess. A clear wax that I use is, what was that one?
The wax.
No, it's the yellow. You can get it at Home Depot. It almost has a yellow hue to it. It's Johnson's Paste Wax. And I really like Johnson's Paste Wax. You have to do it outside because it's really potent.
And you can't do it on lighter colors, right?
No,
you
can't do it on whites, or it almost has a yellow hue to it. But on blues or greens or bright colors, it works really well. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into my clear wax. This is the one I'm using. I'm using my same brush. I wiped it off a little bit.
Kim Fellows asked, what brand of brushes do you use?
I use a lot of Annie Sloan brushes, and I like them, the bristle brushes. I like them a lot, but I did just come across these zebra brushes, and they are amazing. I really, really like them. This one in particular is just because I can hold it like this. I have complete control. If you're dry brushing, just adding other layers, it's a really good brush, and it's for smooth finishes. It's amazing. I did on Amazon order this one, which is a zebra brush too, and I thought it was different. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this really, but maybe for like corners and moldings it might be, you know, great, but for what I'm doing, so I don't know, I'm gonna, maybe I'll cut it up and see if I can make something cool out of it. But I really do like the so soft, and it just gives a really wonderful finish. Anyway, I'm coming in with the clear wax now, and I still have a little bit of my dark wax in there, which doesn't bother me at all. And you can see I'm just really pushing it in there. And it will erase some of the dark wax that I have on there. Not a lot, but some of it. The more I push it in there, you can see I could start to move it a little bit. Right there. Now, normally I wouldn't suggest that you go ahead and double dip from dark wax into your clear wax. I just happen to have a lot of tins of it left over from when I had my shop, so this one will be for that purpose. So I'm putting a pretty generous amount of wax on here, but this is cool. All this, and you can see how it deepens the color quite a bit. When you put it on there. So this is the other thing, is that when I do this, I generally don't, it's not as if I can necessarily replicate a piece that I've already done. I mean, I'm trying with this one, with the colors, but it's always going to come out a little bit different. I'm going to wipe it down, just going to wipe it down a little bit, so I don't muddy up my paintbrush with a bunch of wax. Not a lot. I'm just kind of, there's some hairs in there. I mean, you can still feel the wax on there, but it's not super, it's a little bit stickier. You can see my fingerprints in it a little bit, so just a little bit sticky. And I'm going to come in, and this is completely up to you on how much coverage of this color or this layer that you want to put on there. You could see I didn't take very good care of this can. I don't know what's going on. I couldn't get the lid to go back on, and so I just went with it. It's super thick. Normally it's not this thick. You can see I'm just coming in. There's a little bit more on this brush than I wanted, so I'm just going to keep working it in. And that's when you can see I'm actually like pushing down on it. And that's fun too. I like that. And you get these little highlights of color coming through. And you just work it anyway. This brush honestly is a little bit wet. You can see as I start to work it into those other layers, those different colors are kind of popping out right there. And that's what I want to do. So that's why the dark wax at first doesn't scare me a whole lot, because I know I'm going over it and I'm going to smooth it out a little bit.
Flipped out furniture added maybe because I taped the lids. She doesn't even tape the lids. Said you needed to put bags on those things.
And then you just keep going until you get the desired effect that you want. Start off kind of soft, and then you can really start mushing it in there. And you can come back and add more dark wax if you want. It's all up to you. I go in different directions. So, like that. Just keep going. Any questions? Does this scare you? And I'm mushing, you can see I just put this on there. It's completely dry. It's completely dry. So once you put it into the wax, it has this cool kind of, and I think it actually makes it look more chalky, and has a more velvety finish to it. Has anybody tried that before? Anybody tried putting paint into the wax? So I'm going to show you something else. I'm gonna go back and fix it after, but this can also produce a pretty cool look. Once I'm done with this, I am going to come back and highlight some of the dark wax that I use just to grime it up a little bit more.
Getting some requests to be able to see you as you work, so I'm going to move the camera back. Bear with me as I attempt to do this. Okay. Paula Rice says she has done that when she wants to change up a look and when she feels she needs to add more detail.
Yes. Okay, so I'll just lightly, oh, look at that nice bob. Cool. So this is what I was going to show you. I put this on a little bit thicker on this side. Sometimes while it's still a little bit wet, take a paper towel and remove some of that and get some of those colors to come through. You can even though we did wax, I can spray it a little bit. And you could see some of those other colors coming through. It just gives a little bit of shazazzle over there, whatever you want to call it. I like that. So that's that. I'll come back with dark wax like I did on the other side. I like this peeping out. I'll make this a little bit more cohesive on the side. And that's how I did the side, and that's how you paint into the wax. I actually do like this a little bit here. I will be adding with my spatula some my spatula. Sometimes I'll come in just to add a little something like that, just to give it a little bit more character. Can you turn it around? So back to the front, and now we have this area. I don't have any on hand right now, but I highly recommend those little cheap chip brushes that you can get at Lowe's or Home Depot that are about a 1/2 inch wide, and they're very sparse brushes. They're at the very bottom. They're like, I don't know, 39.79 cents, something like that, to use with dark wax when you're doing, or white wax or black wax, to get into the corners and the crevices. It just works really well because you don't get that much product on the brush when you're doing it. Okay, so now that this is dry, I'm going to come through and I just wiped a little bit of that off because normally I'm using a much smaller brush. I'm going to come through and just very lightly start to add a little color variation in here with the dark wax. Any questions? I'll post a pic of it tomorrow when I've just done a few more touches so that you can see the end result. Working it in there right now. Come back with my clear wax. Still has a little bit of that dark wax on it. It's fine by me. And at this point, if I feel like it's gotten a little muddied, which I do on the sides, it's okay. I'll just come back with a little bit more Giverny. I wiped most of it off, almost like I'm stenciling. And I'll just brighten it back up again in areas.
Can you mention what you will be doing with the top to finish it off, I'm assuming?
I'm just going to do, I will do clear wax first on the top, and then I'm going to do dark wax. And then I'll wipe that down. So again, I'm just pushing the brighter color into the wax to give it a little bit more depth, highlight it a little bit. And that's pretty much it. Those are the steps. Any questions?
Living Soul had joined us on Instagram. Hey Brian, you're not allowed to start painting furniture now.
Anything?
No more questions. Everybody said thank you. Wow, beautiful, flipping amazing. Love it.
Another cool thing you could do is come back with a little bit of white wax in certain areas, and that would create some age through here too. But it, you know, we wanted it to look dark and decrepit. That's kind of, you know, the look we were going for, this aged Parisian piece that with these pinks and these blues and a little bit of this dull kind of greens, and yeah. That's it. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Peace and love from Florida.